Valentine's Day is coming up soon, so it's probably time for a little labor of love. I want to make chocolate bonbons today, but not just any chocolate bonbons. I want to fill them with something that we know from a German chocolate that is called Yogurette, and it has a filling from yogurt and strawberries. We have something similar here in America from Aldi US. It's this kind of thing, but in my opinion, this is way too sweet to eat, so I don't really like this version. I will do my own version today. So in the end, your chocolate bonbon should look like this one here. And the ingredients that you will need for this are about 4 grams of freeze-dried strawberries. Then you will need 350 grams of yogurt, and I'm using a Greek yogurt. In Germany, people don't have Greek yogurt, so they just use some regular yogurt, which means you can use it just like your regular yogurt too. Then you will also need 110 grams of semi-sweet chocolate, 30 grams of milk chocolate, 75 grams of white chocolate, and you will need molds for your chocolate bonbons. And I have this kind of mold that I got on Amazon. It is especially for making chocolate bonbons. It's not very expensive. It's very sturdy, so it's not this kind of silicone thing that some people might have at home. You will also need a thermometer. And you will also need something like this. It's a very fine mash bag. It's usually used for making nut milk. I think it's called nut bag or something like that. And this will be used to strain the yogurt and remove as much of the liquid as possible. Okay, I've already measured the yogurt to 350 grams, and like always, the recipe with all the ingredients is on the blog post right here. And if you don't do metric system, you can switch there from metric to US customary and see everything in cups and ounces. All right, so I start with draining the yogurt. So I'm putting the yogurt into this bag here. And I could have put it there last night already and let it drip overnight to get some of the liquid out already. But I can also just use my hands and just squeeze it to remove as much of the whey as I can. Okay. That's all I got out here. I put this aside, and in my next step I'm going to chop the chocolate. So I'm starting with the larger portion of the chocolate, and I want to chop it really finely so it will melt fast. And what I need to do is I have to temper the chocolate. I've mentioned tempering in another video already. So tempering is basically treating the chocolate in a way that is melted and then cooled down and then reheated to certain temperatures. And this gives the chocolate not only a nice shine, but also a nice consistency and makes it crack when you bite into it. So it's a very nice thing to temper your chocolate for something like this. So I'm also chopping the milk chocolate. And it's about 1/3 of the chocolate that I'm keeping here. And this is what I will add to the melted chocolate a little later. And since I'm already at it, I will also chop the white chocolate, although I will need it later. So now I'm melting the chocolate. I'm using the 110 grams of dark chocolate, and I'm having it over a pot with hot water. The water though shouldn't boil, and the bowl shouldn't touch the water underneath. So I will just give it a moment to melt, and then I show you how I temper the chocolate. Okay, so the chocolate has melted and it should stay below 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And the most important thing while you're doing this is to really keep the water out of this bowl of chocolate. If you get the slightest drop of water into this chocolate, it's all game over. You can use a new chocolate because water and chocolate don't go well together. So I'm basically drying the bowl with this towel just to make sure this is really, really dry and I don't accidentally put anything from the bowl into the bowl. So now I'm using some of the remaining chopped chocolate, not all at once, and I stir it in and let it melt. And what I want to achieve is I want to lower the temperature of this chocolate to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can see it's melting already, and I'll add some more. And while you are doing this, you can notice that the chocolate becomes a little more thickened and is not as liquid as it was when you took it from the stove. And now let me measure the temperature again. Let's see where we are here. It's still too warm, it's still above 90 degrees. So let's add some more. And I just keep stirring it. I can also add a little more chocolate if I want. Let's see how the temperature is now. And make sure you really measure the chocolate, not the bowl. Okay. Temperature is still too high. I just add a little more chocolate that I still have here on the side to make these things a little faster. So I don't know if you can see it properly with the camera. The chocolate is now very shiny and has a little bit thickened in its consistency. And I have cooled it down to 82, 83 degrees probably. So it's now time to put it back onto the hot water pot and reheat it to a temperature between 88 and 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's it already. So now the chocolate is more liquid again and ready to be used for the shells for our chocolate bonbon. Time to use our mold. So what I'm doing now is I'm filling the chocolate into the mold and then I let it drip out so that only a thin layer of chocolate will stay in these molds. And it's good to have some sort of scraper that you can use to direct the flow of the chocolate. So you see this is going to drip out. All right. Remove some of this here. And I will of course have to remove more of the chocolate, and for that I'm just turning it upside down on this cooling rack and let the remaining chocolate drip out so that only the thin layer of chocolate that I want is left in the mold. So after about 20 minutes I'm lifting this now and I'm trying to clean this up here on the top so it's easier later to fill and remove these molds. Probably need my other scraper here. All right. And it is best to let this cool and harden at room temperature, but the room temperature here in my house is 25 degrees Celsius at the moment, which is quite warm. So I have no other choice than to put it into the fridge, but it's usually best to let chocolate cool down slowly instead of like fast in the fridge. While I let the chocolate set, I will prepare the filling now. For that I'm using the freeze-dried strawberries, and I cut them. And I want them to be really, really small. And they have been out here for a while now, and since this is Texas, very humid, they have become a little bit gummy. So it seems to be better to leave them in the bag until you really use that when you have an area like ours where the humidity is very high. All right, so the other thing that I have to do is to melt the white chocolate. And we don't necessarily have to temper the white chocolate in this case. Since it's only for the filling, it doesn't matter if it has this cracking sound or looks shiny, so I can just heat it. But just so you know, if you want to temper white chocolate, here are the temperatures for that. And if you wonder how the yogurt has turned out after straining it, so it looks like this. It's quite firm. It's a little bit the consistency of quark, but it's still a different taste than quark has. So it still tastes like yogurt. And I will have to mix these two things together in a little bit. Okay. So the white chocolate is melted, and I will add it now to the yogurt. All right, and I mix this together. And I don't add any additional sugar or anything because I think this is sweet enough. I mean, make your own taste test. If you feel like there should be more in it, you can still add a little bit of confectioner sugar, but I don't think that's really necessary. So I mix this as good as I can. And if you feel like your mixture is too soft, too liquid to use it as a filling, you can still add a little bit of cornstarch or potato starch. That's what I'm doing here. I think it could be a little more dense. Oh, that looks good. You see it's a smooth mass. Let me try a little bit. It's a really good mixture of chocolate and of yogurt. It's a really refreshing and delicious combination. And just adding the strawberries makes it even better. It's a good mix. So this goes into a piping bag now. And yes, I am the kind of person who washes these out and uses them until they fall apart. So I'm reusing this bag from previous time. I have a round small piping tip, and I choose one that is a little longer, which just makes it easier for me to fill the shells of the chocolate bonbons. By the way, in Germany we call chocolate bonbons Pralinen, which would be pralines, but from what I've learned is that pralines here have a different meaning. I think they're these sweet treats that my neighbor brought from Louisiana with some pecans in it, and I think they make them with cream. They're very delicious. Okay. So I'm ready now to fill the bonbons. As you can see, these have set and they are hard now. I can touch them. And all I have to do now is put a little bit in. Let me go back here. I don't fill them all the way up because I want to add the strawberries in a little bit. So now I drizzle some of the strawberries in here. All right, and now I'm adding a little more, but I don't fill them all the way up to the brim. I want to leave a little space for the foot of the bonbons, so I cover them with chocolate in a little bit. So if I would fill them all the way up, there wouldn't be any space left for that. So I have to be a little bit careful here. Now I'm going to even it out a little bit. So you can see here probably that I left a little bit of a rim here on the top, so it's not filled all the way up. And now I can cover these bonbons with some more chocolate so that I have the foot for the bonbon. I have to reheat the chocolate a little bit. It's still liquid and warm, but I need it to be a tiny little bit warmer. The chocolate has reached the temperature of 88 degrees, and I am now adding the remaining chocolate. So now I move this a little bit back and forth, so it's really covering every corner of the mold. You can see it here. And now I'm removing some of it. Okay, so lots of chocolate. So this goes now into the fridge again in my household. If you have a cooler home, you can just let it set slowly at room temperature. Yeah, and then I will show you how it turned out. So now the chocolate is hard. I can touch it here. It's not soft anymore. I will remove a little bit of the chocolate that is sticking to the mold. So now I'm trying to loosen it a little bit. I'm bending it in both directions, just as good as possible. And then I have to flip it. Let's see, I hope it goes well. Okay, so some didn't come out quite perfectly. I will sort these out. But these look just fabulous. Look at these. So let's cut one open. And by the way, while I was waiting for the chocolate to set, I was wondering, what's your plan for Valentine's Day? Are you planning something special? What are you doing? Let me know in the comments. I am curious to hear about it. So I think that looks nice. Now let me cut one open so you can see what it looks like on the inside, and I will also, of course, try one. So this is what it looks like. Let me zoom in a little bit. So here is what it looks like. So you can see the strawberry parts here, and the yogurt looks very nice and it's firm. So it turned out pretty nice from the viewpoint of it. So let's see how it's tasting. It tastes pretty good. It tastes, actually, I think it tastes even better than the original. So usually we keep these mostly in the fridge, these kind of chocolate. You can use them without being in the fridge, but they taste better when they're cold. Yeah, I hope this inspired you a little bit for your Valentine's Day surprise planning, I don't know. And I hope you have a nice Valentine's Day, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell button. And if you wait a little and watch some of the pictures that I'm going to make, then there will be more of my videos and also the recipe link to the blog post.